I want to share with you a profound near-death experience, NDE, story from a man named Vincent. This experience took him on a journey that transformed his life and perspective. Here's how he tells it. Vincent's in his own words. I then all of a sudden started to feel this warmth, as if someone had shined a bright light on me, or like the sun had just come out from behind a cloud and began to warm my back. As the warmth spread, it started to envelop my whole being. I turned around, trying to figure out where this warmth was coming from. And as I turned, I began to see all the good things I had ever done in my life. I was witnessing memories of moments where I made a positive difference, and I realized I had done so much more good than bad. I saw instances where I didn't even realize the impact I had on people. I felt this immense, unconditional love, peace, and warmth that also had a coolness to it, all at once. But again, all of this was coming from behind me. So, I turned fully around, and that's when I saw this gentleman. Without thinking, I thought to myself, you must be God. But without moving his mouth, he said, no, son, I'm not God. I'm your guide. Pause for a moment to reflect on this part of his journey. It's a powerful moment when Vincent experiences the realization that his life had meaning, and he's met by a guide who isn't God, but someone there to help him understand his path. This encounter of light, love, and clarity is transformative. And this guide is just the beginning of a deeper understanding. I'm Vincent Tolman. I was born in Arlington, Texas, and raised in a pretty tough home. It was a strict household. My dad had spent time in the army and really appreciated the discipline. So, he was tough, especially on me. Growing up in that environment, I had a hard time respecting men in general, and I found myself looking for opportunities to fight anyone I could just to channel all that anger and frustration. But at some point, I realized this wasn't who I truly was. In my search for something positive, I found bodybuilding in my early 20s. The better my body looked, the more attention I received, and that felt good. So, I would work out early in the morning and then again in the evening, every single day. We would use the usual supplements like creatine, protein powders, and pre-workouts. But there was one supplement called furon dehydro that was the most popular for muscle recovery. It allowed you to heal in 24 hours what would normally take 48 hours, which meant we could work arms every day, chest every day. Eventually, the stores ran out of furon dehydro, and the waiting list to get a bottle was 6 months long. We didn't want to wait, so we went online and ordered it from a company in Thailand. When it arrived, we were excited and decided to try it that Saturday morning. Right away, we felt something was different about this batch. It turns out that what we got from Thailand was a 100% solution, whereas what we had been using in the US was only a 5% solution. So, it was like taking 20 bottle caps of the stuff all at once. Almost immediately, we both started to feel nauseous and dizzy. We didn't think we were in any trouble, so we decided to go get something to eat to settle our stomachs. As my buddy was driving, he began to pass out. I had to shake him awake. We pulled into a Dairy Queen, and I went straight into the bathroom. The supplement had a sedative effect when taken in such large quantities, and it was like my body was shutting down. I passed out, conscious, but my heart was slowing down. The last thing I remember was watching the whole room spin before I collapsed onto the floor. My body began to vomit as it tried to eject what was poisoning me. But as it did, I inhaled the vomit into my lungs, suffocating myself. It felt like I had been plunged into a cold, dark pool. But instead of panic, I felt an immediate, profound sense of peace. Through this dark, watery feeling, I began to see a foggy image that eventually came into focus. I saw what looked like the bathroom, but from above. I didn't think for even a second that the body on the floor was mine. I wasn't connected to it. I was above it, watching this scene unfold. I saw a customer try to open the men's bathroom door, but it was locked. After about 45 minutes, he went to the manager, saying he needed to get in. I watched all of this, including the discovery of my body. I saw them call 911, and I watched as the manager coached the assistant on how to check for a pulse while speaking to the 911 operator. I could hear the thoughts of everyone, including the paramedics. It was almost like I was watching a film, and I remember thinking, this is an interesting choice for the director to show me this. This is where Vincent's experience becomes even more surreal. As he watches the events unfold, he is able to hear the thoughts of others, something he wasn't expecting. It's like he's caught in the middle of a movie, but it's his own life, and his own death. His experience starts to give him insights that go beyond mere observation. They attempted resuscitation, but it didn't work. They performed chest compressions and then pronounced me DOA, dead on arrival. They placed my body in a bright yellow body bag, strapped it to a gurney, and wheeled it out. Again, I watched from above, feeling calm and peaceful. I didn't understand why I was seeing everything from this perspective, above, not in front, but I was still able to feel the serenity of the moment. As they drove the ambulance, I could hear the thoughts of the rookie medic. He was clearly beating himself up, thinking that he should have done more to try to save me. He felt like they had given up too soon. And as he thought these things, I felt a strange glow inside him, a light growing brighter and brighter, until I heard a loud, almost commanding voice say, "This one's not dead." Without knowing why, the rookie medic opened the body bag, despite having felt no pulse or sign of life. As he reached for my leg's artery, I felt a sudden shock in my chest, like an electric shock, and saw him jump back, startled. It wasn't a pulse, but it was enough to make him want to keep trying. He broke protocol and administered oxygen, then attached the defibrillator. On the second round of shocks, my heart gave one weak beat. The other medics went silent. They suddenly snapped into action, calling ahead to the hospital. I saw them bring my body into the hospital, and I had no idea what I was watching, still unaware that it was my body. As the doctors worked on me, my body began to seize and vomit again. They restrained me with straps. And that was when I felt someone strapping me down. That was the first moment I realized that everything I was witnessing was connected to me. I wasn't just watching this from above. I was part of it. At that realization, I began to feel fear. I couldn't believe that I had missed the obvious. This whole time, I had been watching my own death. And then, in an instant, I started to relive all the bad things I'd ever done in my life, every selfish or negative action, even from when I was a child. I saw it all, but it wasn't just from my perspective. I saw it from the eyes of everyone I had impacted. The emotions were overwhelming, and I felt like the fear and darkness were starting to consume me. My light was dimming, and I felt like it was being snuffed out. Vincent is now overwhelmed with the weight of his life's actions. He is experiencing a moment of reckoning, confronting everything he has ever done wrong, both from his own view and from the perspective of those he impacted. It's a powerful and deeply emotional experience for him. And just as I thought I couldn't bear it anymore, something changed. All of a sudden, I felt this warmth, like the sun coming out from behind a cloud. It began to shine on my back, and as it did, it started to warm my entire being. I turned around, looking for the source of this warmth. And as I did, I started to see all the good things I had ever done in my life. I saw that, in truth, I had done far more good than bad. I realized that so many times, when I didn't even know it, I had made a difference in people's lives. And I felt this overwhelming sense of unconditional love, peace, and warmth. It was also cool, but comforting at the same time. Once again, this warmth came from behind me. So, I turned fully around, and that's when I saw the man again. This time, he was standing before me. I thought, "You must be God." Without moving his lips, he said, "No, son, I'm not God. I'm your guide." Reflection. Here, Vincent's encounter with his guide begins to teach him about the impact of his life and his choices. The warmth, peace, and love he feels signify a shift. He is realizing that the good in his life outweighs the bad, and his guide is here to help him understand that. There's a deep sense of connection and healing in this part of the story. The moment I saw my guide, I felt an overwhelming sense of peace. He wasn't just any ordinary being. He radiated this incredible, divine calmness, like everything was going to be okay no matter what happened next. I knew deep down that this was a crucial moment, and I was about to be shown something I had never fully understood before. He spoke, but his words weren't like how we speak here on earth. It was more like he was speaking directly to my soul, bypassing the limitations of language. I didn't need to hear the words, I just understood them. "You are not your mistakes," he said, his voice resonating inside me. "You are not the sum of your errors or your failings. You are the potential, the growth, the love you can give." I could feel every ounce of guilt, shame, and regret I had ever carried with me lifting from my heart, like a heavy weight being slowly and gently removed. But at the same time, I was shown the full impact of the wrongs I had done, the people I had hurt, the mistakes I had made. It was as if I was viewing everything from a higher perspective, seeing not just the events, but how my actions rippled through the lives of others. Then, something extraordinary happened. The darkness, the fear, the shame, all of it dissolved into this bright, warm light. It was like I was surrounded by a vast ocean of love and compassion. And I realized something that took me completely by surprise. The love I had been shown wasn't just for the good things I'd done. It was for everything. The bad, the ugly, the messy parts of my life were part of who I was. And those parts were not to be judged, but understood. I didn't need to carry the burden of regret anymore. It was all part of my growth, part of the journey I needed to walk. I started to see that life was a cycle, one of learning, growing, and evolving. My mistakes weren't the end of my story, they were stepping stones to becoming who I was meant to be. In the middle of this revelation, I was shown my own life. But it wasn't just the big moments that stood out to me, it was the little ones, the quiet acts of kindness that had often gone unnoticed, that made the most impact. I saw myself as a child, comforting a friend who had lost their pet. I saw a time when I had helped a stranger with their groceries, or when I gave up my seat to an elderly woman on the bus. It was the moments of genuine care, the small things, that made the biggest difference. And I understood that these actions, however insignificant they seemed at the time, were what truly mattered. But then, there was something else I wasn't expecting, a deep, penetrating sense of gratitude for my struggles, my pain. I had spent so much of my life resenting the hardships I had gone through. But now, I saw them in a completely different light. The struggles had shaped me, had taught me resilience, patience, and empathy. They had brought me to this moment, to the realization that I wasn't broken, I was whole. And I could embrace all of who I was, the good and the bad, with grace. As I stood there with my guide, I felt a profound sense of connection, not just to him, but to everything around me. It was like I was one with the entire universe. Time didn't exist. I wasn't just connected to the earth or to those I loved, I was connected to the entire cosmos. I could feel the energy of every living thing, every star in the sky, every blade of grass, every person's heartbeat. And it was all beautiful. Perfect in its imperfection. Then, my guide spoke again, this time with a warmth that could be felt in my very soul. "You are not alone," he said. "None of you are alone. Every step you take, every choice you make, is part of a larger plan, one that you are contributing to without even realizing it. You are loved beyond measure, and you are never truly lost." The weight of the guide's words was profound. Vincent is beginning to understand the depth of his existence and how interconnected everything is. His life, his mistakes, his victories, none of it is meaningless. It all serves a greater purpose. And through his struggles, he's now finding peace and clarity. At that moment, I knew something deep in my heart, something that resonated through every fiber of my being. I wasn't supposed to be there in that moment. I wasn't supposed to be dead. I still had more to do, more to give, more to experience. The choice wasn't mine, it wasn't up to me to stay or go, but my time wasn't up. I could sense that my guide understood my thoughts before I even formed them. He was aware of my doubt, my uncertainty about returning to the life I had known. I was terrified. Terrified to go back to a world where I might not live up to the clarity I had found in that moment. I wasn't sure I was capable of being the person I had just seen in that light. But again, my guide reassured me. He was there to show me that the growth I had experienced in that brief moment wasn't a one-time event. It was a process. I could take that light and carry it with me, if I chose to. The love, the peace, the understanding. It wasn't something that was gone once I returned, it was something that would always be with me, as long as I sought it. You will remember, he said. When the time comes, you will remember all of this. You will carry this wisdom in your heart. And when the time is right, you will help others find their way, just as you have found yours. And with those final words, I was pulled away from the light. I felt myself slowly being drawn back to my body, to my life. I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. But in some deep, hidden part of me, I knew I had no choice but to return. As Vincent's guide reassures him, he realizes that this newfound clarity and wisdom will stay with him, guiding him through the rest of his life. Though he's returning to his physical body, the emotional and spiritual transformation he's gone through is permanent. He doesn't have to be afraid of what lies ahead because he now carries an inner strength that he never had before. When I came back to my body, it was like waking up from a deep, vivid dream. I was groggy, disoriented, and in pain. But I knew that something had changed within me. I was no longer the person I had been before. I had a deeper understanding of who I was, and of why I was here. I still don't fully understand everything that happened. There are moments when the memory of that experience feels like a distant dream, almost too surreal to be true. But in my heart, I know it was real. And I know that I have a purpose here, a purpose that is greater than I can even imagine. And so, every day, I try to live with the knowledge that my life matters. That the small things count. That I am part of a much larger tapestry of existence. I try to be kind, to be loving, to make the most of the time I have. And most of all, I try to remember that I am never truly alone. Vincent's near-death experience, NDE, was a profound journey that led him from the brink of death to a deep understanding of life, love, and purpose. What he saw, felt, and learned transformed his approach to the world. The lesson he carries with him is simple: it is the small, meaningful moments of kindness and love that make all the difference. And though he returned to his body, he knows he is not the same person who once walked into that Dairy Queen bathroom. Vincent's story is a reminder that, no matter what struggles we face, no matter how lost we may feel at times, we are all part of something much bigger than ourselves. And in the end, we are all connected by love, light, and the choices we make.